Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to the Dirt Roads Football Podcast. Today, we're going to do a preview of the Iowa-Nebraska game. So, Nebraska is ranked 12th in total offense and 5th in defense in the Big Ten. Iowa's offense is 13th total offense. So, Iowa is ranked 13th total offense and their 3rd ranked total defense in the Big Ten. Pretty even matchup. Iowa's defense is a little bit better statistically, per se. I don't think that their road to being the Big Ten West champs has been that easy for them, especially with their offense being not very prolific. They don't have the big explosive plays. They don't really have a lot of playmakers on that side of the ball. They do just enough to win, which their defense really carries them. So also some more statistics. Nebraska is actually 1st in rushing in the Big Ten. Iowa's defense is 4th in rushing. So that's a pretty good matchup. A lot of those rushing yards, like I've said in previous videos, do come from the QB. So passing offense, Nebraska is 13th, Iowa's 14th. Nebraska is 9th in pass defense, and Iowa is 5th. So pretty drastic differences there in the pass defense. So according to the odds, Nebraska right now is -2 for points. They're slated to win by 2 points is what they predict. The overall points is 26. So I feel like that's pretty accurate. I feel like it'll be a low scoring game. I was really going to be out Cooper DeJean, obviously, for the rest of the year, and I think that's going to make a huge impact as far as the game goes itself. So they don't have that dynamic returner, and they don't have him back there in the secondary. So they got to play someone who else was younger. I'm not exactly sure who that is. So in last game, So during the Nebraska-Wisconsin game, I thought that if Nebraska limited their turnovers, that they should win that game, and realistically they did. They only turned the ball over the one time in overtime, and that was to seal the deal, and that obviously sealed the deal for Nebraska losing, but their offense was great in the first quarter. 14 points, Nebraska's defense held, limited them to 0 points in that first quarter, and then the next couple quarters, Nebraska kind of let them back in, so it was 10 points in the second quarter, and then 3 points in the third quarter, and then 0 points in the fourth quarter. Nebraska scored in the fourth quarter on a field goal with only a few seconds left on the clock. So if Nebraska can continue that magic, and they can keep what they did in that first quarter as far as offensive goes, and they can spread it out through all 4 quarters, Nebraska should win the game. Nebraska has a lot of talented people, a lot of players. So Nebraska has a lot of talented players on the team. They're just all young on the offensive side of the ball. You have 3 true freshmen at receiver. You have Thomas Fidone at tight end, and Nate Borkacher. Nate Borkacher's had a few seasons under his belt. He played a lot last year. Fidone, this is really his first year playing football at the college level, and he has proven that he has pretty reliable hands. He's a pretty good route runner, and he's capable. Down 2 of their running backs from earlier in the season with Ramir Johnson and Gabe Irving. So realistically, they've been starting Emmett Johnson, and he was the 4th on the depth chart. He didn't really play a lot last year, but he's proven that he can handle the ball, he takes care of the football, and he runs hard. Like, he can run between the tackles, he's good in the backfield, he's good at catching the ball. He's been pretty patient in finding his lanes. Not every run that he gets is going to be for positive yards, but the majority of the time it is, and he runs hard, and he can be patient, and when he hits the hole, he hits it hard. He runs hard, he keeps driving his legs, which I think Nebraska hasn't really seen the past few years. On the defensive side of the ball, Nebraska really played Wisconsin tough. They only allowed 17 points in regulation, obviously the touchdown in overtime. But they played well enough, and they've played well enough in these games to keep Nebraska in the games. Nebraska, on the offensive side of the ball, just has not been very prolific. They haven't been consistent, and that's the biggest thing. It's not even them being prolific, it's them being consistent. You don't have to go out and score a bunch of points in these games. You just have to score enough to win. And Nebraska's defense keeps most of their opponents under 20 points all year. So they've done a good job in holding a lot of offenses other than Michigan. Michigan was a little bit different of a story. Michigan is a top 4 team. I want to say they're ranked 2nd or 3rd right now. I don't remember. But they've gone out and they've proven against everyone that they've played that they are the better team, and that the only game that they really struggled with on the offensive side of the ball was Penn State. So you really, I mean, obviously Nebraska played Michigan and lost bad. But against all the other teams, they've played really well. So the defense can hold. And I know they can hold Iowa to, I would say, probably 20 points or less. One of the biggest concerns I've also kind of seen is the kicking game, more specific, the punt game. Buschini just hasn't been as consistent this year. He's had a few go off the side of his foot. He hasn't really kicked the long ball. He's been struggling to really pin teams deep on a consistent basis, and that showed in the Wisconsin game. And Wisconsin's starting at their 30-40 yard line, or at the 30-40 yard line, so it really shortens their field for them to have to really march down and score points. But then again, Nebraska's defense, like I said before, they've been prolific. They've been really good. They've been consistent. They hold. I was a little disappointed in that Wisconsin game. They did miss some big tackles. They had Mordecai dead to rights multiple times. Hopefully they shore that part up against Iowa. I think they will. I think Matt Rhule is going to make an emphasis on tackling this week and really ensuring that, you know, they take the right angles, tackle properly, wrap up, won games by, you know, possessing the ball and having like more time of possession than other teams. And their defense and their special teams have really, honestly, been phenomenal and prolific for them as far as keeping teams under 20 points. They've been able to flip the field position, do all those kinds of things that are really important during a football game. So Nebraska's obviously right now, they're sitting at 5-6. They really need this win to go bowling. I think it's super important for not only the players and the coaches, but also for the fans. It's been since 2016 since Nebraska has been to a bowl game. And us as fans, and I know the coaching staff and the players know that, you know, an extra month of practice is really going to be crucial for going into next year. So you have all these young players on the offense. Chubba Purdy, who really only had that one drive this year. Chubba Purdy, who did start against the Wisconsin game and then also played that one drive against Maryland. But he wasn't even getting first or second team reps. He was running scout team the whole year, so he hasn't gotten those reps. And for only having a week's worth of practice, he did really well against Wisconsin, in my opinion. He was 15 for 24, 1 interception, 1 touchdown pass. I think he played well enough within the system. He threw the ball away when he should have thrown the ball away. If there was no one open downfield, he would find a hole and he would just hit it and go. And he's a lot faster than I thought he was, and he played a lot better than I thought he would play. I didn't think it was going to be that great. I know Whipple thought that he was going to be really great. They really pushed hard to get him last year. When he did play last year, it didn't really look that great. I don't think he really looked that great in the spring game either. So it was just kind of one of those deals where I wasn't too sure how he was going to play. When he marched the Nebraska down the field during the Maryland game, I was shocked. Obviously, he threw the pick in the end of that game as well. But, I mean, when you're only getting scout reps and you're not even playing really within your own offense, I expect that to happen. I think that, you know, the offense is kind of like a running back. Like, you start getting the ball and you really got to get into that rhythm. So when it comes to timing, the snap count, you know, the receivers and the quarterback and the tight ends and the running back all being on that same page, really the whole offense, not even just them, but the whole offense being on the same page. It's knowing where your receiver is going to be if they have double coverage, if they're going to go inside or outside, or knowing the defense and being able to read the defense and look at it from the same field of view, essentially. So if, you know, they have inside help, so that cornerback's going to play on outside, or vice versa, they know where that receiver is going to go, so he knows where to put the ball. I think he did miss a couple of balls when he threw them. He missed a couple of receivers pretty big. It wasn't too big, and he got lucky on a couple of them. But, I mean, 15 of 24, 169 total yards, touchdown, and an interception isn't bad at all for being your first game within this new system that you've actually played and only had a week of practice. So making a bowl game is going to be absolutely crucial to next year's team. I think all the true freshman receivers, people like Fedoni, Guys like Justin Evan Jenkins playing on the line. I've seen Lutaspi in there, Prohaska. All those guys getting gelled for another whole month to go out and prep for a bowl game is going to be huge. Huge for this team. And it's a step in the right direction. Even if they lose the bowl game, it's a step in the right direction. So not only that, but if you can go out and you can play whoever it is that they're going to end up playing, whether it's an SEC team, a Big 12, the Pac-12, Big 12, whoever they're going to play and go out and be able to compete, it just shows that they're going in the right direction.